One of the biggest challenges to anyone's success is not so much in developing new ideas as in escaping from the old ideas. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And we are in a series talking about what it takes to become a great thinker, a book by John C. Maxwell, How Successful People Think. We're getting a lot of our information from that book. Once again, I have a series out, The Owner's Manual for Your Brain, that comes from a different perspective. I consider that to be my best work. I strongly recommend you go down and click on that. The thing is in the description box below. But this is a different perspective, and different perspectives give you new opportunities for something to click in here where it's most important. So let's get right to what we want to talk about today, which is one of the traits of successful thinkers is going against the grain, is going against popular thinking. Because going against popular thinking can be difficult. Whether you're a business person bucking company tradition, a new mother rejecting old wives' tales handed down from her parents, or a teenager ignoring currently popular styles. Many of the ideas that we've discussed already go against popular thinking. If you value popularity over good thinking, then you will severely limit your potential to learn. Because really, what is popular thinking? Popular thinking is too average to understand the value of good thinking. It's too inflexible to realize the impact of change thinking. It's too lazy to master the process of intentional thinking. Too small to see the wisdom of big picture thinking. Popular thinking is too satisfied to unleash the potential of focused thinking. It's too traditional to discover the joy of creative thinking. Popular thinking is too naive to recognize the importance of realistic thinking. And it's too undisciplined to release the power of strategic thinking. Popular thinking is too limiting to feel the energy of possibility thinking. It's too trendy to embrace the lessons of reflective thinking. Too shallow to question the acceptance of popular thinking. Too proud to encourage the participation of shared thinking. Too self-absorbed to experience the satisfaction of unselfish thinking. And too uncommitted to enjoy the return of bottom line thinking. Now, if you want to become a good thinker, then start preparing yourself for the possibility of becoming unpopular. Why should you question the acceptance of popular thinking? Well, let's be more specific. First, popular thinking sometimes means not thinking at all. Kevin Myers said, and I quote, "The problem with popular thinking is that it doesn't require you to think at all," unquote. Good thinking is hard work. If it were easy, everybody would be a good thinker. Einstein said that, didn't he? That's the title of this series. Good thinking is hard work. Unfortunately, many people try to live their life the easy way. They don't want to do the hard work of thinking or pay the price of success. It's easier to do what other people do and hope that they thought it out. When people blindly follow a trend, they're not doing their own thinking. Second, popular thinking offers false hope. This is a great story. I'm going to give it to you right from the book. It's fabulous. Benno Muller-Hill, a professor in the University of Cologne Genetics Department, tells how one morning in high school he stood last in line of 40 students in the schoolyard. His physics teacher had set up a telescope so that his students could view a planet and its moons. The first student stepped up to the telescope. He looked through it. But when the teacher asked if he could see anything, the boy said, "No." His nearsightedness hampered his view. The teacher showed him how to adjust the focus, and the boy finally said he could see the planet and the moons. And then one by one the students stepped up to the telescope and saw what they were supposed to see. Finally, the second to the last student looked into the telescope and announced that he could not see anything. "You idiot!" shouted the teacher. "You have to adjust the lenses." Well, the student tried, but he finally said, "I still can't see anything. It's all black." The teacher, disgusted, looked through the telescope himself, and then looked up with a strange expression. The lens cap was still covered the telescope, so none of the students had been able to see anything. Sort of a scientific emperor's new clothes, wouldn't you agree? Many people look for safety and security in popular thinking. They figure that if a lot of people are doing something, then it must be right. It must be a good idea. If most people accept it, then it probably represents fairness, equality, compassion, and sensitivity, right? Well, not necessarily. Popular thinking said the Earth was the center of the universe. Copernicus studied the stars and planets and proved mathematically that the Earth and the other planets in our solar system revolved around the sun. Must always remember that there's a huge difference between acceptance and intelligence. People may say that there's safety in numbers, but that's not always true. Sometimes it's painfully obvious that popular thinking isn't good and right. Other times it's less evident. As an example, it's popular right now to ignore climate control. Yet the clues are there. Hurricane season, as an example. What is it? It's the laziness and the inability to get out of our comfort zone that's the major deterrent that prevents us from taking what is becoming clearer and clearer necessary actions. Does that make sense? Popular thinking is slow to embrace change. Popular thinking loves the status quo. It puts its confidence in the idea of the moment and holds on to it with all its might. As a result, it resists change and dampens innovation. Allow me to get on my soapbox for a moment. One of the things that I preach from this pulpit is the ineffectiveness, to a large degree, of our educational system. It was designed in the 1800s to prepare people for the industrial age so that they could go and work in factories and so on, prepare them for working. Well, times have changed significantly. And with the amount of information in the world doubling every 2.5 to 3 years, back then it took 25 to 50 years for information to double. So what they were doing in school was relevant. Well, right now, if things doubling 2.5 to 3 years, teaching you to read the chapter and answer the questions, and this is right and this is wrong, and there's no gray area, is really not the best way to educate people, in my very humble opinion. We have all sorts of books, as a matter of fact, the things that I preach from this very pulpit about what it takes to be a success. There's a success formula. Well, the idea of an education is to help people to become successful. Yet we do not teach the success formula in our schools. Why not? Because we're comfortable with the way it's always been done that way since the 1800s. Does that make sense? So my thinking is not very popular, yet when you speak to, the people that are the most successful in the world, they're the ones that tell you, it's like, it's not what I learned in school, it's what I learned here, and the different aspects of how to think, and being persistent, and all of the different aspects. And our parents are the ones that keep this system going because they're comfortable with it. Go to school, do this, do that, be comfortable. Sometimes you got to rock the boat. in my humble opinion, it's time for us to embrace the fact that there's too much information out there for everybody to learn because it doubles all the time, and that the key thing is learning how to think, which is once again the purpose of this series, the different aspects of what it takes to become a good thinker. Popular thinking brings only average results. So what's the bottom line? Popular thinking brings mediocre results. Here is popular thinking in a nutshell. Popular equals normal equals average. It's the least of the best and the best of the least. We limit our success when we adopt popular thinking. It represents putting in the least energy to get by, the least line of resistance. To achieve uncommon results, you must be willing to reject common thinking. You must be willing to have an unpopular, different thought. Once again, big shout out, John C. Maxwell. A lot of this stuff comes from his book, How Successful People Think. And let's always remember the key thing, which is not to ration the passion, but to fashion the passion. I'm Eli's dad.